Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Monday night edition of the broadcast, March 18th, 2013 into March 19th, 2013. Thanks so much for being with us tonight for another late night moonbat edition of the broadcast. We will be getting into a variety of news for you here tonight on the show. Not a whole lot, but we do have some to get into. It's Monday, so thankfully to this Monday there was some. Last Monday there was. I was one of the rare times that I've ever seen that happen in almost 6 years of doing my show now. It does happen, but it happens very rarely that you get a Monday that's not just chock full of news stories and stuff, because, there are some things that come out on the weekend. Even when I'm not doing shows, I'm still gathering news and doing the thing 7 days a week anyway. So, I'm always constantly looking at that stuff. So a lot of stuff piles up. But, last Monday, there was just not a zilch, nothing. So, this week we do have some, so we'll get into all that for you here tonight on the broadcast. We'll also do some of our continued series reading on Manly P. Hall and the Adepts and the Mystery Schools and all that stuff. So, thanks for being with us. Thanks for staying up late. Thanks for staying up early, whatever it may be. And we're going to rock into it here tonight with you on The Global Reality. My website, theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. That's where this broadcast originates from. We broadcast on a 128K audio stream here when the show is live, and then we replay the archives and other past show archives and whatnot, and other shows I've been interviewed on and stuff as well here. And classic shows, old shows as well. We mix it up sometimes, play some old stuff in there. But we stream this radio. Excuse me. I had, how you take a drink or you eat something sometimes, it goes down the wrong pipe. I did that earlier, and it still haven't recovered from it. But we do have a 128K live stream, plays the show live. If you're listening live, that's where you're listening to it now. You also can listen to the archive shows we play on there, play all kinds of different stuff. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, theglobalreality.com. If you go to my website, you will see a tab up top that says Listen to Show. That's how you find the link to listen. You pick your little player there at the bottom, whatever you have. And it streams the 128K audio stream. And so you can catch the show and the archives afterwards. If you want to help us be able to pay for that service, then please get a subscription to our archives. They're at the top of the page on the right-hand side. It says Radio Archive, subscribe. And hit that, and it will open up a menu where you can go in there and choose a archive plan, and that goes to helping us keep the lights on and stuff every month. So it is helpful for us to get an assortment of people who get memberships. You get the archives of 128K. They're usually up within 10 to 15 minutes after a live show. You can get a 2-month pass for $40. You can get a 6-month pass for $120, a 3-month pass for $60. a 1-month pass for $25 or a 1-year pass for $240. So we also do offer a lifetime pass. As long as there is a show and as long as I'm still around to do it, you can have an unlimited lifetime archive pass, $1,000. And you will never miss a show for the rest of your or my life. How about that? So, yeah, definitely go there and get yourself a membership. Again, that helps us pay for the live stream and all the other fees and whatnot that we accrue each month from doing all this. We do have the stream bill due right now. In fact, it's I think 1 day past due. So we're about $50 shy on that. So if anybody wants to help us out, get a membership or use the donate button, and please do so. And please donate to our work. It's been slim pickings again this month. And while we had a nice influx of people buying the DVDs and stuff for the first couple of days after the Red Eye Show taped it, it has kind of tapered off now. But we do have the Blu-rays and the DVDs on their way. The Blu-rays, I think, will be here this week, and I think the DVDs may not be here till next week. But they're on their way, so you can order your copies of my new film, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1, at my website right now. You can also get the digital downloads as well there. They're still for sale. And, yeah, it's getting exciting. Can't wait for those to get here and get those out to everybody. But, we don't have sponsors and we don't have anything like that here, but I'm not above sponsors if it's something good. And I have a friend who is actually somebody I know. It's not just an internet thing. This is actually, somebody I know in real life. And he started his own business making liquids for e-cigarettes and all this stuff. He has fantastic stuff. Is from what I understand, I think he has the only website in the world right now where you can actually go on and mix and match and make, design your own flavors. It's got a little drop-down menu on his website. Well, if you do smoke e-cigarettes and you like the little liquid stuff and you want to get some high-quality stuff and also help out one of my friends and help out my show and my work as well, you could scroll down the right-hand side of my page at theglobalreality.com underneath the Facebook page there. There's a link to Vapor Palace. You can link through there from my website. Go over there and give them a visit if you need any of, for all your e-cigarette needs, Vapor Palace, custom-made Texas e-liquids. That's a hot thing right now, and it's growing in popularity. And there are only a few sites out there that even really sell these quite yet. There's lots of stores and stuff, but yeah, this is one where you can, you're going to get somebody who's, you're buying from that is of like mind, and it's somebody that I know, instead of it being something, that I've never really brought a lot of sponsors on. I've only had a few since I've been doing the show, but something like this where it's, it could be mutually beneficial for both me and, somebody I know, and somebody that, again, I know is of like mind and into all this stuff, as well, and does his own research stuff too. So there you go. Check it out. Vapor Palace. It's at my website, theglobalreality.com. We also have the Indiegogo campaign up for The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 2. And our filming schedule for Volume 2 begins sometime around the end of May, sometime in May, I think is when we're shooting for. And I think we're shooting for May and June, really, to start shooting. So that's when the funding campaign runs until then. There's all kinds of packages you can get, perks you can get, and there's all kinds of different levels in there, from just the low level where you get a DVD on up to more different packages and where you get more elaborate stuff, and you're going to be getting more elaborate things this time than last time. We're really stepping it up and up in the ante for that this time. Because the people who come in at those higher levels and really make all of this possible. I want to try and do everything to show them how grateful I am, and the person who made the first volume one really possible in a huge way is going to be getting a nice box from me once the DVDs and the Blu-rays and all this stuff get here. But none of this is possible without you. And, the overhead is low here. I'm one guy, I do all this myself. And we're really on the verge of breaking some. I mean, I was having a great conversation in the chat room tonight because, I just, because I'm so immersed in all this stuff all the time. It's weird. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just always itching for a conversation about it. You know what I mean? So we got onto some stuff in the chat room tonight. We were talking about, the origins of the Talmud and stuff like that. You hear a lot of these Jew World Order type guys always going off about the Talmud. I remember talking about some stuff like that when I used to do a show on RBN, and I had these old codgers calling in. That sounds like you're talking out of the Talmud. Yeah, that's the Talmud stuff there, boy. I'm like, well, I'm not, I wasn't saying it was good or anything. I was just, my usual rap telling you what these guys are into. That's all I was doing. But anyway, but it absolutely has its origins in Babylon. I sort of indirectly cover some of this in the new film, in as much as I talk about the, when the Jews came in and started wiping out the giants and wiping out the Amorites and Og and all this stuff, and they they took over their lands, but they also took over everything they had too, their libraries. They had all this information, and all the spiritual and religious information went back to Canaan with the Canaanites, and also went back to ancient Babylon. That's why the actual Talmud, a lot of these guys never call it by its correct name. The correct name of the Talmud is the Babylonian Talmud. That is the source of it. There's been, hundreds of different interpretations and reinterpretations and it's been, it's just like the Bible or any other religious text. I mean, all of them have, and the Talmud's no different than the Bible or anything else. It's something that started out and had one origins, again, much older than we're told. The Bible, the Talmud, all of these sacred religious texts had all of their origins in ancient Babylon. And, of course, through the years, they've been changed, edited, and everything else. So the thing is with these guys who make all these, all this talk about the Jews and go off about the Talmud all the time, I think a lot of them really, to be honest with you, they're on the right track, but because they haven't done enough of their own research, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, really. They really don't. Because in order for you to make a statement like, the Talmud is evil, and the Jews are into the Talmud, so therefore, we need to wipe the Talmud and the Jews off the face of the earth. I think that's a very arbitrary and rash statement to make, because you need to determine first which translation specifically that you're talking about, which interpretation specifically you're talking about. And I'm not saying any of them are good, and I'm not saying any of them are 100% bad. What I'm saying is that it's an absolute fact that the Talmud, like all other religious texts, originated from people that are referred to in those ancient Mesopotamian texts as being the Anunnaki. And Nana, I mean, it's connected 7 ways to Sunday. But see, of course, after the exodus of the Jews, and after you had the Jews and the Aramaeans come in, they kicked out all the Amorites, wiped them out, took over their lands, took over all of their information that went back to ancient Babylon, basically the mystery school stuff. And this is where you started to see the first incarnations of this stuff being used really for evil purposes. Because none of this stuff is meant, and there was something we read the other night from last week in the Manly P. Hall thing that alluded to this. The information itself is not good or bad. It's neutral. I preached about that for years on my show, and really, when I said it years ago on the show, honestly, 100% honesty here, I didn't really understand even then. I understood a bit enough, but I didn't really fully understand how true that actually is until now. And it actually is 100% true. This information, this knowledge itself, for people to say it's all evil, it's all satanic, whatever, blah, 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 it's actually not true. It can be either one. That's why you have all this talk and biblical text on this stuff. I'm the Alpha, I'm the Omega. And you see, these hermaphroditic figures and things like, you've seen Baal and Satan, all these different things, the goat of Mendes and all this stuff, the Baphomet, always hermaphroditic. And Lucifer said to be a hermaphrodite as well. So you see all these things existing simultaneously in each other. But the thing about it is that it seems, at least from what I've looked at, from the time and point in time that was going on prior to the Jews coming in and wiping out the Amorites in that area and taking over their lands and taking everything, executing everybody, destroying Og, all this stuff. It seems that the period of time before that happened, coincidentally enough, no such thing as those, are there? But again, coincidentally enough, prior to that, we don't really have a record or any reports or anything written down at all of this knowledge and this information and this stuff being used for the really dark, dark purposes until after this stuff fell into the hands of a people who it didn't originally belong to. And this is where you had the whole thing of, the Jews being God's chosen people. It came from because they were able to mix it up because of the Amorites being Canaanites, Phoenicians, being also a Semitic people, but not being Jewish. And I talk about that in the film about, the Jews casting out all of the, and ordering all the Canaanite, Phoenician, blah, blah, blahs to have their, any trace of them wiped off the face of the earth forever. And so because they were able to usurp this, that's exactly what they did. They usurped the knowledge and the information of a people that they were genetically linked to, but they were a very distinct and different set of peoples. And the ancient Mesopotamian texts describe this exactly when they talk about the Enlilites and the Enkiites, and how they, after Babylon, spread out the people to all the different lands, some of which Enki had dominion over, and, got tongue-tied, some of which Enki had dominion over, and some of which that Enlil had dominion over. And the Enlil side was more of the, what you would consider, the sort of the Jewish, more Jewish side of this with, Baal worship, Marduk worship, Baal, Marduk, that whole end of it. And then you have the Enki side, which is more of the monotheistic, Amun-Ra, other side of things. And so it talks explicitly about these people being spread out to other lands and having their tongues confused, their native tongue confused, so that they would speak a different language. And this is how they set up warring nations, and nations with one set of religious and political and spiritual beliefs, and then another land with supposedly different people who were supposedly, we're told, are a different race and a different people altogether, who have different religion, different culture, but then we find they're actually the same people. They're all Semites. But what would be the point of separating these people, confusing their tongues? Aha, divide and conquer. Because then they allowed these gods to have dominion over their own lands and, let the best man win or woman win, whoever it may be. They had women Anunnaki rulers over some of these lands as well. And that standard is the same standard that our governments follow to this day, ladies and gentlemen. It's no coincidence. They set up these lands to determine, again, it was really as simple as let the best man win. Whoever showed that they were the more skillful god and the more successful god and followed God and, was able to usurp their enemy the best, those would be the people who would go on and survive and go on to seed the people of the future. It's like a chess game to these guys. And this is still going on to this day. We're still living under this Enlil versus Enki rivalry and worldwide system of genocide and war and, over disputed lands and whose lands are these, when really all the Arabs and all the Jews and everything really just need to get up one day and understand their true history, and they'll understand that they should all be occupying all of those lands together in harmony, not in war, because the war is not being fought for the benefit. You are not killing each other for the benefit of yourselves. You are in an ongoing big dick contest. You're in an ongoing centuries-long pissing contest between a couple of big swinging dick gods that want to have a pissing contest to decide, who's the best. And, they've created these two separate peoples that really began and originated from the same area as one peoples. And this division and the whole system itself, ladies and gentlemen, the entire world system itself and the deception of it is based 100% on this phony division, this phony separation. And I tell you what, it's one of the toughest things to get over to people. It really is, because everybody's so programmed to just take their minds back to that separation instead of understanding that everything had its genesis points from the same place, and it expanded outward from the same place. But it's all, in the end, just a variation on the same thing. That's what all the major worldwide religions are. They're variations of the same thing. They all have their same source back to the same place. Everybody has been fighting all this time, myself included. I'm not trying to say I'm innocent in all this. I've engaged in this stuff too, but, I'm a big enough man to admit it. But look, everybody, again, myself included, but everybody out there all these years, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you right now, you need to listen to me right now. This is important. What I'm about to tell you is important. Everybody out there all these years has been fighting over who it is in charge, who's running shit. Is it the Jews? Is it the Jesuits? Is it the bankers? And we have allowed ourselves to become divided amongst each other when we're all, in the end, after the same thing. And in the end, it all goes back to the same exact place and people. And it's a fact. And the people who have, out there who, don't like my work or don't like my show, don't like me, don't like my information, can't see and won't admit to themselves or to anybody else, and maybe I would admit it either, for some of these clowns out there, but we're all on the same page. But because people want to stay talking in these factions, and the ones that stay talking in these factions, even though, like, this contrary information, the facts, is proven to them, that lets you know those are operators, and you don't want to mess with them and move on, and don't worry about listening to those people anyway. But the real fact of the matter is, all of this stuff, if you want to say that you want to blame Jews, you in a certain percentage of a way would be correct. You want to say it's all Jesuits, you in a certain percentage of a way would be correct. But this continuing idea of separation, and although no, this group over here doesn't have anything to do with this group over here, and these are all separate factions, it's baloney. It's baloney. It's all baloney. There is no separation. That separation is not real. But that separation, that illusion of that separation, is what keeps this whole world system, ladies and gentlemen, in its place. Fact. Because it gets you to separate yourself and separate your consciousness and separate your empathy away from a particular group of people by justifying it to yourself that those guys are the bad guys, or those guys are the enemy, or those guys are the threat to our way of life. Why? Well, because they have a dangerous religion and this, that, and the other. And again, no. Your religion is just as dangerous as theirs. And why is it dangerous? Because neither one of you clowns know that both of what both of you believe in came from the same source, and the whole thing is a deception to keep you both divided against each other. That's what they don't want you to find out, and that's why they don't want, that's the root of why they don't want this rock wall thing uncovered. These people do not want it to come out where the true source of all this stuff came from, and that they whole cloth lifted it from a peoples they eventually exterminated off the face of the planet. So none of these guys, the Jews or the Jesuits, none of these guys came up with this stuff on their own. They are all following a construct that found its place in all of the major world centers throughout the world since the dawn of time. The foundations of all civilizations, cultures, secret societies, all of it was based on this stuff. And religions have become reinterpreted versions of this original, unfiltered, unwatered down source. So just like you have religious zealots who have taken, stuff that's in the Bible and, twisted it and reinterpreted it for evil ends. The same has been done with Judaism. Because, again, it's all the same people. It's, every religion has had its original unfiltered versions that go back to ancient Mesopotamia and Babylon. Over time, they have reinterpreted them, watered down, and suppressed the original information and constructed a new construct out of it that fits the ability for them to be able to perpetuate this thing without the worker bees having too much information. That's really all it is. So everybody needs to get over this idea of separation and this idea that, again, it just goes back to the same thing with Alex Jones. Anybody that tells you, not to look into this information over here or look into this and just focus on these things, that is the number one person you need to not trust. Because anybody that's telling you not to look at a certain area of research has an agenda. Unless it's just stuff, where it's blatantly obvious, okay, that's disinfo horseshit, don't look at that, But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stuff like this. Because when you finally find out that the quote-unquote New World Order, Illuminati, Jew World Order, world supremacy system, whatever you want to call it, all of this stuff is all factions of the same thing and goes back to the same place. But they can't get their agenda done without having humanity, us, the worker bees, split right down the middle, divided, fighting against each other. We're just their pawns. We're like their entertainment. We're their We're the cannon fodder for their intergalactic swinging dick contest. Jesus Christ, I never thought in all my years that's how I would sum up all this. I never did. You want to get down to it, ladies and gentlemen? That pretty much sums it up right there. Get your pen out, write this down, put it on the wall, put it on a T-shirt. You're not going to get too many nuggets like this from me too often, but here it is. You ready? Humanity is the cannon fodder for an intergalactic swinging dick contest. Put that on a shirt, put it on a bumper sticker, it'll be a million seller. It's the truth. But when are we going to say no more? Because we can, because we have the info now. We can't sit around anymore and say, the bottom line of it is, folks, we know what the source of all this stuff is. And go, continue to go off and say, no, this, don't look at this group over here, look at this group over here. It's arbitrary and it's false and it's a lie. Because all of these guys are all working together and they all are working from a playbook that all originates from the same exact source. All right, let's get into the news here tonight. Damning evidence that Pope Francis, lighten up, Francis. Any of you homos touches me and I'll kill you. Lighten up, Francis. Damning evidence that Pope Francis may have betrayed two priests who were kidnapped and tortured by Argentina's brutal military junta can be revealed today. The Mail on Sunday had seen documents which appear to show that the new pope secretly collaborated with the country's dictatorship when he was head of the Jesuits there, using his real name, Jorge Bergoglio, during the dirty war that started in the 70s. One of the documents is a 27-page report by Orlando Yorio, one of the kidnapped priests, in which he accuses the current pontiff of secretly spreading dangerous rumors about him and a colleague while personally promising him support and protection. A second document is a confidential government memo written in 1979, which appears to reveal Bergoglio informed junta officials that Father Yorio and Father Francesco Jalacas were suspected of collaborating with guerrillas and that Jalacas were accused of encouraging dissent among a congregation of ruins. Well, of course they were. That's what these guys are, man. They're counterintelligence operatives. I mean, they were balls deep during the Contra thing. When the whole Contra thing was going on, the Jesuit priests were right there for that the whole time. Covered some of that stuff in my first Secret Ride film. Which, by the way, it's amazing. I've gotten several comments and several messages from people who have just gotten turned on to my work from my recent Red Ice interview, who had not previously heard of me or my work or my previous Red Ice interviews, who have went back since hearing that show now and watched The Secret Rite and 1 and 2. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's awesome. That's exactly what, you hope happens, but very rarely does it always go that way. But, man, it's amazing. It's just great that, the stuff I'm doing now can also get people into the stuff that I did do. And those people appreciate that stuff just as much as they appreciate what I'm doing now. That's great. It's fantastic to hear that. Because, again, that's why at the end of The Secret Rite 2, I sort of segued into, what was going to be the next film, the Rock Wall film thing. Because, again, it's all, no matter what subject you choose to talk about on this stuff, it's relevant because if you really study it, again, it all goes back to the same place. So, for someone who pushes the Jew World Order stuff to say that, it's, not okay for somebody like me or somebody else to talk about, different subjects. It's a falsehood. Look, I don't have any problem with those guys if they want to point out Jewish involvement in all of this stuff. But the problem is that they're doing it from a skewed viewpoint. They can't see the forest for the trees. They can't see the real origins of this stuff, and they don't understand that their whole logic is based on a falsehood. I mean, this is why Hitler went so goddamn apeshit, folks, after his expeditions came back when he was trying to find the Aryans. He had people doing archaeological digs. He had people in ancient Mesopotamia looking for stuff. I mean, he had people all over. And in the end, when he found out that these Aryans were Semitic in origin and that the master race is the same as God's chosen people, they're the same thing, and those people were Semitic in origins, he ordered it all buried. And this is why he went on such a murderous, extermination rampage in his final days. This is why he went. That's why they had to shut him down. Again, he was our boy. He was the United States boy. Prescott, Bush, and I mean they were caught funneling money to the guy. Whole cloth and got off. Brown Brothers Harriman holding company. But that's why he went so balls out ballistic crazy. He was so furious that he wanted these Sephardics wiped out in mass numbers. He did not want anybody eventually putting together what we now know, which was that the Aryans were a Semitic people. Now, they weren't, again, that's not the same as saying they were Jews, because as we've already established, the Phoenicians, Canaanites, these were Semitic people too. They were not the same as what we now know as Jews. Not the same. So it's fascinating stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Earthquakes turn water to gold. Well, I wonder why we have ionospheric heaters and earthquake machines. Around the world. I mean, this is great. The HAARP machines will be on blast now if they weren't already. Earthquakes have the Midas touch. A new study claims water in faults vaporizes during an earthquake, depositing gold, according to a model published in the March 17th issue of the journal Nature Geoscience. The model provides a quantitative mechanism for the link between gold and quartz seen in many of the world's gold deposits, said Dion Weatherly, a geophysicist in the University of Queensland in Australia and lead author of the study. When an earthquake strikes, it moves along a rupture in the ground, a fracture called a fault. Big faults can have many fractures along their length connected by jogs that appear at rectangular voids. Water often lubricates faults, filling in fractures and jogs. About 6 miles below the surface, under incredible temperatures and pressures, the water carries high concentrations of carbon dioxide, silica, and economically attractive elements like gold. So there's your gold machine. There's your Anunnaki gold manufacturing machine. Yeah, just create a bunch of massive earthquakes and you'll be able to go in and get yourself some gold. Endless amounts of gold. And why not feed the disaster economy at the same time? I mean, hell, all the multinational corporations own all of the companies that create and manufacture building supplies, building products, everything. No bid contracts, baby, all the way across the board. Win, win, win. I don't think they quite knew how big of a windfall that earthquake machine was going to be for them in the beginning. A massive eruption on the sun unleashed a wave of intense solar particles at Earth that may spark a geomagnetic storm and boost aurora displays. The Earth-directed solar storm occurred Friday in what astronomers call a coronal mass ejection, a sun eruption that releases billions of tons of solar material into space. The particles typically take between 1 and 3 days to reach Earth, where they can pose a hazard to satellites and electronic systems. So about today when we would be seeing this. And on the planet's surface, NASA officials said in a statement, the solar particles from the Friday eruption were expected to reach Earth today. And boy, they were chemtrailing it up out there today. Whew. Have been for quite some time. You guys remember back around the time when Obama was first elected for the first term? And there was that audio clip that came out, and I actually put it in an audio editor myself and played it backwards. You could hear it where he's saying, I think he's saying, yes, we can. But instead it says something like, I love Satan, or hail Satan, or I don't remember what it was. Something like that. You guys remember what exactly it was? You played it back. You can clearly hear it, you know. It's like, I love Satan, or hail Satan, or I don't remember what it was. But it was funny. I do remember that it was that. Yes, it was funny. It definitely was that. But I saw this, and it made me think of that. You know, I mean, it's just such a psyop, man. But it's still funny to laugh at. Apparently, they have this new show on the History Channel called The Bible, and it's a big hit. Shows called The Bible generally are. And apparently, the guy that looks like that they got to play Satan, and I don't know about you, but I mean, I've read a lot of religious texts, and I don't recall Satan ever looking like Barack Obama in a Sith robe. You know, I mean, again, maybe I misinterpreted what I read. Thank you, Satan. That's what it was. Thank you, Satan. Yeah, thank you, Satan. Yeah, that's what it was. But I don't recall. I just don't recall Satan ever looking like a black man in a Sith hood. I mean, you gotta think something's up with this. What would possess them to make Satan? I have never in my life seen a depiction of Satan for any reason that would depict Satan as looking as they have depicted him in this History Channel thing. It's such a psychological operation. It's not a coincidence saying, oh, no, it doesn't really look like him. No, bullshit. And, I mean, there's even a screen capture here from Glenn Beck where he points it out and says it. I mean, absolutely, that's what this is. This is an absolute psyop. Never in my life have I ever seen Satan depicted as a black guy in a Sith robe. I mean, he looks like that Star Wars Darth Maul. What's that his name? The one that fucking Ewan McGregor sliced in half and he fell down the shaft. Remember that shit? That's exactly who that guy looks like. I don't know, man. I'm calling bullshit on that. So that's such a psyop. All of a sudden, Satan's black for the first time. We're, dressed like a Jedi Knight. Come on. Really? Yeah. I don't know about you. I don't know about you out there, but when I was a kid, boy, that was, Actually, no, it wasn't. You probably would assume, since I'm from the South, that's probably how we were raised. But no, it wasn't. I got told it was the guy in the red pajamas, just like you did, with, stick a pitchfork up your ass if you're bad. Don't want to go to hell, son. You know what's down in hell. What's in hell, Daddy? Guy in the red PJs with a pitchfork, sticking it in your ass for eternity, son. Oh, fuck that, Dad. I don't want to go there. That's right. Be a good boy, son. Oh, man. God damn. This shit is just, it's comical, though, man. They got jokes for sure. Oh man, he looks like that. He looks like that guy. What was the guy that Roddy Piper fought in They Live? The big black guy, Keith. What was it? He looks like a sucked up, skinny version of Keith. What's his name? I don't know if you ever saw that movie Requiem for a Dream, but he was in that. He's like, he had that line where he's like, black girls don't know nothing about giving no head. He always would do the commercials. He talks like this. You always hear his voice. He'll do an F1 Ford F-150 commercial, and he'll do it just like this. You know what I'm talking about? That's who he looks like. Black girls don't know nothing about giving no head. What does that mean? Black girls don't know nothing about giving no head. What is that? They don't know how to suck dick? They really don't? Damn. Is that why he proceeded to pound that white chick in that movie? That movie was fucked, by the way. Oh, man. What else we got? Deflecting killer asteroid could be geopolitical nightmare. Oh, here we go. Shit. Oh, I told you this was coming, didn't I? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, tell me something we don't know. Geopolitical nightmare. Right. Geopolitical nightmare based on our current worldwide governmental systems. Right? Because to deflect a killer asteroid, you would have to have what? A worldwide unified effort, which translated means what? A one world government. Fascist dictatorship, one world government. Yes. And so, again, here they are. They are hinting at it more and more every day. They're making it apparent more and more every day. Humanity has the technical know-how to deflect a killer asteroid away from Earth. Well, that's nice of them to admit. Wow. Jesus fucking bleeding Mary Christ. A year or two ago, folks, they would have called you a conspiracy theorist and did call me that. They would laugh you out of a room a couple of years ago for saying that we have the technology to deflect a killer asteroid away from Earth. A year ago, people would have laughed at you. I've been telling people that shit for years and had people laugh at me about it. You notice how they just admit that? They don't come out with an article with a big, bold headline that says, we now have technology to deflect a killer asteroid away from Earth. They never come out and tell you that. Right? Because why? Because that would be big news and, people would know about it. No. It would also imply that, okay, if you're going to announce this, that must mean if we need it, there must be a threat you know about that you're not telling the public about, and that's where you find the real deal. I would be willing to bet that's exactly what's going on. So you notice how they like to admit things sometimes in a completely different way. They just admitted they have this technology. But literally a couple of years ago, ladies and gentlemen, people would laugh at you if you talked about, you've seen Armageddon too many times. Humanity has the technical know-how to deflect a killer asteroid away from Earth, but whether the world can come together to pull it off in time is another matter. So in other words, get your shit together, create a one-world government system. Otherwise, we're going to get hit by an asteroid. Oh, by the way, then the aliens are going to come. And good thing we got that one-world government to deal with that aliens, because we're all got to band together for that outside threat, right, that threatens all of us. And that also gets to the whole root of all the things that I talk about in my new film and all the rest of this stuff and these investigations into the lost secrets of ancient America and all this. It's all back to the root of that. They know that the plan of the ancient Atlanteans was a brotherhood of man, and that when that brotherhood of man was achieved, there was a worldwide civilization of people on this planet that coexisted together in harmony. But when a small faction of those people decided that they wanted to assert power and take it all for themselves, this is when you had the rise of a brotherhood of man that was based on an enslavement system and used this knowledge and information for the enslavement of manhood, and that's when you had the flood and their destruction. And so, in order to be able to have a worldwide brotherhood of man, to fulfill the ancient prophecies and fulfill what they believe to be their spiritual duties based on their bloodlines of the ancestors that go back to those same people, the pre-flood people. They want to get a brotherhood of man, which is the same term as a one world government, new world order, whatever you want to call it. The plan is to get that by deception. By getting all of the people of the world to unite and band together against one common perceived threat. And that is the key operative term, perceived threat. On the basis of a perceived threat or promulgated threat that threatens everyone on Earth. Because then once the threat is neutralized, you can then keep that system going indefinitely by feeding people through media and culture that, see, this is why it's justified, because we had to unite the world and we've ended war and we've ended nuclear power and all this stuff. But see, that's how they'll bring in their real, fully realized idea of a homogenized world system where there is no individual culture and there is no individuality except the individuality and the culture that the one world system shares. And why would you ever want to not have anything to do with that, considering that we just not only abated a killer asteroid strike by banding together, but we also neutralized a extraterrestrial threat. And if the threat arises again, then we'll do it again. And we're all banded together. And it sounds great, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds fantastic. You would think that on the surface, this is great. Maybe this actually be a good thing. You know, maybe we'll all come together. No, that's the problem. It's just like you think when you see people getting murdered with guns, that getting rid of guns may be a good idea. That's what they plan on. They plan on the things that you believe is a good idea. Yes, in theory, that sounds like it's a good idea. But when you look at the reality of it, it isn't a good idea, because it gives the ability for those guns to be in the hands of only the people in power. And it's the same thing here. It's no different. They want a way for all peoples of all worlds to give up all individual identity with culture, race, history, anything, and not do it because it's the right reason, and not do it because we all are one, and we all come from the same source, and like we were talking about earlier, and that there shouldn't be any division between us. That is the real reality. But that's not why they're going to do it. They're going to do it so that they can wipe out all traces of those past divisions that gave individual people their whole being and everything about them, because they can then say, well, that was the ways of the old and it didn't work. And, that's the separation stuff. And then we no longer have to think about those things. We no longer have to think about, were we lied to? Did the government do this? Because then it's all justified in the end as being a means to an end for this achievement of this global system. Well, we don't have very much more news tonight, but you know what? That's really all. I'm really done with the news tonight. We're going to take a break. Come back and get into some Manly P. Hall reading for you here tonight on the show. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Make sure you go there and get yourself a copy of my new film, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1, DVD and Blu-ray are for sale right now. You can also still get the digital downloads as well there. And we'll take a break, come back, and get into more, folks. Stay with us.
Reality Radio Network.
All right, back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We're going to be getting into our continued series of reading for you here tonight in this segment of the show. From Manly P. Hall, picking up where we left off last time, what the ancient wisdom expects of its disciples. We left off last week where he's numbering off some points again, so we'll pick up there for you here tonight. My website, theglobalreality.com. My newest film, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1, is the most important work I've done yet. And it's really just a springboard for the next thing. So please go there and get yourself a DVD, a Blu-ray, or a digital download. And that will all go towards helping us. That's the main reason why we need to get this film out in the biggest way possible. You know, if you guys out there can send emails to radio shows like Coast to Coast AM and request me to be on there, you know, just any way you can get the word out about this film, because you know, the bigger we can get this film, the bigger things we can do. You know, we wouldn't even need budgets or a budget for the next film if we get this film out, marketed in the right way. And I was looking at the stuff to get it up on iTunes, Netflix, all that stuff. It's to get it in HD, the SD version you put up there of it, and their quality looks like shit, so I would not want to even put it up there. HD delivery, iTunes. It is $1,595, which covers all the encoding, chapter breaking, tagging, and general caretaking that will do to usher your film to full iTunes compliance and placement in the iTunes store. After that, there is a flat annual service fee of $79 per film. For high definition delivery, the charge is $15.95. And so this is the company I was telling you guys about, where, you know, if they don't get it up there, you get your money back minus a fee. So, Hulu, you can add Hulu access for $3.99 more. You can add Netflix delivery. Well, check this out. Okay, so if you can get just the movie up on Netflix for in HD for $7.95. Well, that's pretty good. That in and of itself would do some damage. Now, the iTunes thing, of course, that would be fucking supernova level, you know. It would. But the Netflix thing might be pretty big too, $7.95 for that, but it's only $3.95 to add the HD Netflix thing if you already have, you know, if you're already getting the $15.95 deal. So, wow. Anyway, the point is, we just have to do anything that we can do with your help to get this volume 1 out to as many people as possible. Because, again, as I've said, you know, I've got it on the word of the guy who is doing the digging for the History Channel. They are doing an excavation at the rock wall for a History Channel thing starting next month. Hopefully, I'm going to get to go out there and check it out. He's going to ask them. We'll see. But, you know, it makes the thing of having our own dig that much more important now. Because these guys are not going to show any facts. They're just going to try to make it look like my premise that they refuse to cover this stuff is false. That's really all they're trying to do. And so that's why I didn't go, and I think that they've overshot themselves. I think based on my past work, these guys thought that I was going to, like I did in my Secret Right films, sort of show you know, how this is a cover up, which, you know, I do show how the Smithsonian and all this stuff is covering it up. But the point of the matter is, these guys want to come at this from the angle of, oh, well, see, we do talk about this. We have discussed this. We're willing to talk about it. But the thing about it is, they just want to have a set of conclusions that are already decided for you. That way, if anybody comes with anything outside of that, contrary information, anything outside of what their official History Channel findings are, they'll say, well, obviously that can't be true because History Channel didn't find that. And how would you find it if History Channel? Obviously, History Channel has more resources than you do. They would have found that if you instead of you. Now, see, that's the problem here. So none of this is possible without you, and we are on the brink of hurting these people badly with exposing all of this. It really exposes their world system probably more than I've ever done with any of my work. And like I said before, the secret right stuff, all that had to happen for this to be possible. So please go to my website, theglobalreality.com. You can make a donation any way you can. Use the donate button. Use the get yourself a membership to our archives. Get something off our Amazon wish list if you want. Hit up our Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 2 Indiegogo campaign and help us get some cash going for the budget for the next film. I'm not going to be able to go and shoot this week in New Mexico like I had wanted to. Something came up with my bud, so he wasn't able to go do it. But we are still going to do that Chaco Canyon shooting at some point because it's really a piece I want for the next film. It's a big piece that ties into all the rest of this stuff. I can't wait to go there and see it and experience it and get it all on film and tape and pictures and all this stuff for the next film. But we are going to be doing that at some point. So thank you to the person out there, one of our listeners, who said that I inspired her to move from Brooklyn, New York to Santa Fe, New Mexico, who's been out to that site and explored it. She said, sent me an email, hey, if you guys are coming, we'd like to, a bunch of us would like to buy you guys dinner and buy you gas and all this stuff. And this is, man, I was like, well, we have to do it now, but he had something come up and school stuff. I'm like, dude, you're fucking 35 years old and you've gone back to college and that's great. But that's why they call it spring break. Didn't you learn anything when we were fucking 18 or 19, dude? I've known you my whole life. Spring break, dude. But, yeah. So, yeah, I plan on doing that again at some point. But none of this stuff's possible without you folks. And we really could use some people to step it up right now and donate to our work in a significant way. And so anybody out there that can do that, please do so because the sky's the limit from here. And I'm ready to do this big with your help. All right, before passing on to our next subject, let us sum up a few points to be remembered concerning the great work and its workers in the world. Number one, the instinct of reverence for the unknown is implanted in all human life. It seems that even many of the higher animals must have it, for as they sit at the feet of their beloved masters, their animal souls speak through upturned eyes, filled with love and tenderness. The love of the dog for its master and the love of the disciple for his teacher are closely allied. The dog asks for nothing but kind words and will lay down its life for its master. Such is true devotion. From the savage upward reverence and devotion to the gods form part of the moral code of all humanity. Many may deny it, but in the form of either faith, fear, or superstition, it persists. Number two, the maker of the great plan which we call life, the being from which we have been differentiated, has given man certain potentialities. These, when awakened to dynamic powers, will give to each the faculties whereby he may know that plan. By learning it himself and applying his wisdom, he may then reach the position where he can assist others to harmonize their lives with the same law. Number three, for the purpose of disseminating this wisdom wisely among all nations of the earth, the schools of the ancient mysteries have been established. not by the will of man, but by the gods themselves, laboring through channels chosen from the most highly evolved children of earth. That is key, ladies and gentlemen. You hear that? I mean, boy, that summed up a lot of what we've talked about, not only all night tonight, but the whole time I've been doing this show. I mean, that is an honest-to-God admission of the belief of the ancient mystery schools that permeate down into the current secret societies and everything to this day. Boy, that is a key tenet right there, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? For the purpose of disseminating this wisdom wisely among all the nations of the earth, the schools of the ancient mysteries have been established not by the will of man, but by the gods themselves, laboring through channels chosen for the most highly evolved children on earth. This goes back, this idea of them being the most highly evolved. That goes back to the bloodlines. That goes back to the families. All the bloodlines that go back to those particular lands where originally you had an Anunnaki god who was going around in that land pouring the seed, and then their children begat children, and their children begat children, and on and on and on and on and on. Those people in those areas that were considered to be the most highly evolved, meaning, as per the ancient Sumerian text, those who had the most highest amount of Anunnaki DNA in their blood, in their bloodlines, these were the ones who had people who were chosen to be the priests and were chosen to be the channels in which the gods would establish these ancient mystery teachings through. That is a key thing right there. Man. I mean, again, this is why we read this stuff. Because when you have the context of all this other information, you can more appropriately see exactly what these people are talking about when you read this kind of stuff. That's what people don't get about why it's important for me to read this stuff on air with you, because then I'm able to see live as I'm reading. If I'm reading this stuff on my own, you don't get to hear my reactions or my thoughts on it. If I read this on the air, even if it's something I've already read myself, you hear what my reaction to it is, and then I'm able to give you the information that shows you why that's relevant and why that's important. And that's a huge one right there. Because that's exactly what all of the ancient texts describe as being the case. That the original secret society, the Brotherhood of the Snake, I talk about that in the film, was set up by these gods to basically establish what their religion was all about. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier with all these religions being all from the same source, but split through different lands into different things and turned into different factions. And everybody says, no, your religion's the right one, or mine's the right one, yours is the wrong one. But they're all from the same thing. And that's why the only thing that is true in all of this is the original unwatered texts, without spin and somebody else's interpretation, and without, them trying to make it fit. We are always, we're always told that we're to blame for all this. Even that biblical stuff. We're born into sin, and man is a sinful creature, and all this stuff. It's just such bullshit. It's a lie. It's a way for them to assign blame to us so that in the end, no matter what happens throughout mankind's history, we always have this crutch to fall back on where, we're the ones to blame for this. We never had a chance to do this on our own or mess this up on our own. It was established from the very beginning from an outside source. And they also established that no matter what happened, it was man's fault because, we're the sin. No. You're the guys who couldn't keep your fucking dicks in your pants. Okay, remember? The other guy's having the intergalactic fucking big dick swinging contest over here. Number 4, having established these schools, the superior intelligences became the central invisible powers of these schools and are still in actual communication with the adepts and masters who at the present time manipulate the destinies of these secret orders. I got to slow down and read that one again. My goodness, you hear that? I mean, this is just admission after admission here tonight, folks. So in the paragraph before, of course, the ancient mystery schools have been established not by the will of man, but by the gods themselves, laboring through channels chosen from the most highly evolved children of Earth. Next, it says, having established these schools, meaning these ancient mystery schools, the superior intelligences became the central invisible powers of these schools. Now let's stop right there. The mystery schools are established. You have the formation of the first secret society structures on Earth. They were set up not by the will of man, but by the gods themselves. The superior intelligences, meaning the gods, became the central invisible powers of these schools and are still in actual communication with the adepts and masters who at the present time manipulate the destinies of these secret orders. Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. I'm about to have a fucking brain hemorrhage right here. Oh my fucking God. Do you have any fucking clue what that means? Do you have any clue what they just said right there? Let me break it down for you here. The superior intelligences of the gods are the invisible power. They have staff. They are the invisible enemies. They are the invisible controllers. I've been saying this for years. That it goes back to these guys, these Anunnaki guys. It absolutely does. And they are, now this backs up something other people have said. Other people have said that these guys never left. And that they are in fact still living on the earth somewhere, presumably in the inner earth. So these guys are still in communication with adepts and masters who at the present time manipulate the destinies of these secret orders. So meaning whatever happens with these secret schools and secret orders and secret societies to this day, the adepts and masters currently alive today in Masonic lodges take their marching orders directly from the gods themselves who established the ancient mystery schools in the beginning in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's, you know what, folks, that's where all the evidence, that's where all the evidence points. Everything I've studied all these years points directly into that being the case. It absolutely does. Because when you go higher and higher up the food chain, folks, you eventually hit a brick wall where you can't see who the power is on the other side of the curtain, but you know that somebody's there because you can see the tentacles connect. This is it. These guys are still communicating. The high-level guys in the secret societies, the adepts, from the adepts, those are the beginners, on up to the masters, are still communicating through the rituals of these ancient societies, which go back to the original ancient mystery schools. They are still communicating and steering where these orders go on the orders of the superior intelligences who first established the mystery religions on Earth. My God. How come I've never heard of this Manly P. Hall book before? I just found it randomly to read. I mean, this is, I can't believe that people haven't been talking about this in the truth community until now. This book is full of unbelievable admissions. They are admitting to you, ladies and gentlemen, 100% that the mystery schools, which were founded in Babylon, which, as we talked about earlier, were the original Genesis point for the Talmud and all these other religious texts, the Bible, everything. And to this day, and the secret orders also mean, the Jesuits and all these other groups, these guys to this day are still communicating and taking their marching orders. I mean, folks, wrap it up and put a bow on it. It's fucking Christmas morning. In my opinion, I just cracked the whole fucking thing. Who these true rulers are. And who the true power that all the groups that we see externally really are taking their orders from. We see the external hierarchy, the internal hierarchy, we never see. And think about that phrase. The external hierarchy would be what? The external hierarchy would be the hierarchy that we perceive to be the highest positions of power in the external world. So the opposite of that, the internal hierarchy, would be the hierarchy that exists in the internal world, implying that there indeed is an internal world, internal world, rather, inside of our planet. The evidence is there from Shambhala, where the ascended masters were said to have gone in the Himalayas, that it's an entrance, to Mount Shasta, where you had, what was that guy's name? The Count, the guy that was a immortal. Oh, my God. That's what it is. And that corroborates exactly with Admiral Byrd's story that he described when he went into Inner Earth and what they told him when he met with these people. I mean, it really all makes sense. What we think about on the outside world as the highest positions of power are exactly that, the outside world. The inside world of this planet that exists affects our outside world every day, and we have no idea or inkling iota for the most part even exists. Even people in the conspiracy world and research world for the most part are completely unaware of this. Not everybody, but for the most part, a lot of people are. And that's another subject that people are always shied away from and told not to look into. I've always noticed that. When you bring up the inner earth stuff, people get real, fidgety. They don't like it. Why? I've always noticed that there's always certain topics that I've found that if you bring up, they just make people squirm. Why? It's all just info. But that's exactly why. I mean, folks, this is this is one of the books that the actual Freemasons keep inside of their libraries and Masonic lodges. I mean, this is just a hell of a mission. I'm blown away by this. The superior intelligences became the central invisible powers of these schools and are still in actual communication with the adepts and masters who at the present time manipulate the destinies of these secret orders. Number 5, all growth spiritually must take place through one of the 7 channels appointed by nature for that purpose. At some stage in his spiritual growth, each disciple will enter to the planetary path best fitted to evolve the qualities that lie dormant within himself. Number 6, these 7 schools, together with their branches in all parts of the earth, constitute the Great White Lodge. There it is. The Great White Lodge. Alice Bailey talked about that. That connects completely with all of this stuff. My goodness gracious. Oh, my goodness gracious. The Great White Lodge. I mean, that's it. The Great White Lodge supposedly is located where? Inner Earth. This is the divine institution appointed to give the ancient wisdom to our planet. It is composed of all of the initiates and adepts of the White Path and forms the invisible government of the Earth. There it is. They just admitted it. That is the invisible government of the Earth. That's it. Number 7, the ancient wisdom contains the true and accurate knowledge of the plan whereby the gods, man, and the universe were established, are being maintained, and will be later dissolved into eternity. And listen to that. You hear that? That's kind of a scary thought. I mean, they just summed it up for you right there as if, well, that really is all we are. You know the song "Dust in the Wind." All we are is dust in the wind. I mean, that's really it. But basically, right there, they just admitted that the gods, man, and the universe were established and are being maintained. And later, they'll be dissolved into eternity like everything else. They are referring to all of this as if this is just a regular cycle and a regular plan that is repeated ad nauseum on planets and other locations over and over and over again by the grand design of some intergalactic council that deems it to be so. And that's what the ancient wisdom is. And that's what they're saying it is. It is the blueprints, ladies and gentlemen, on how to set up a society and perpetuate it in a way that you want it to be, in a way so where it to be controlled under a certain set of conditions, so that it can be basically repeated, set up, repeated, wash ad nauseum, do it again somewhere else, over and over and over again many times. That's unbelievable. The ancient wisdom contains the true and accurate knowledge of the plan whereby the gods, man, and the universe were established, are being maintained, and will later be dissolved into eternity. It is the knowledge of all things in their relation to God, nature, and themselves. And it is the only guide by which man can be shown the path he must follow if he would liberate himself from the ignorance and darkness of materiality. Number 8, anyone may walk that path who will accept and live up to the obligations which the ancient wisdom places upon all who would learn the mysteries of life and death. If they will live the life which it points out, they shall know not only the doctrine which it preaches, but also the great ones who have been chosen by their virtues to teach their younger brethren the ancient wisdom. So that's the end of that chapter. We'll pick up the next chapter tomorrow night, the mystery schools. And that was just really a breakdown of what you got to know before you enter into them. Tomorrow night, we'll be getting into, what the actual mystery schools themselves entail. Unbelievable stuff. Huge admissions there. These guys take orders from the people who first established civilization on this planet long ago, and they are still in contact. And that's what all the rituals and the handshakes, all this stuff, that's what it all is. It's had different names, but whether you want to call it OTO or Freemasonry or this branch of Freemasonry, in the end, it's still all the same stuff. But it's very hard to make people go to war against each other anymore when these people realize that this has all been a lie and that this is all coming from stuff that has spawned from the same source, and it's been done for nothing more than proving one man's worth over another. All the dying, all the fighting, all the separation, all the misery of this planet. Again, it sounds like a childish and an arbitrary way to put it, but ladies and gentlemen, it really is an intergalactic big swinging dick contest. We wonder where we get this at, don't we, guys? We wonder why we act like this. Well, all of us act like this to this day. We always want to fucking be in a pissing contest with somebody. Why is that? Somebody you'll be minding your own business. Somebody all of a sudden wants to swing their cock out at you
and try to make it be a fucking big dick contest when you weren't even, talking about dicks. You're like, oh, man, I really like this fucking, new soda here. Oh, well, my dick is bigger than yours. Let's duel. You're an asshole. I hate you. You're like, what? Where'd the swinging dick contest come from out of nowhere? We wonder where we get that from. That's exactly where we get that from. And if people of the world could ever figure that out, there'd be no reason for there to be wars or fighting or separation anymore. The only thing we need to know is that we've been divided and separated by people who want to do it for their own aims, and that we all need to be banding together, not for them or for their cause, but for our own cause against them for doing this to us. And that's the real front of the battle right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's all the time we have for tonight. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you go to theglobalreality.com, make a donation, support our work, please. We got to have it right now. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.